On September 30, 2025, a pivotal event unfolded at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia. The base, steeped in history and tradition, became the stage for a moment that would reverberate throughout the entire U.S. military. As the sun rose over the parade grounds, anticipation filled the air, with service members and leaders from every branch gathering for what was promised to be a landmark announcement. The newly appointed Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, took the podium, his presence commanding the attention of the nation's top military minds. Hegseth, a veteran himself, brought a sense of urgency and conviction as he addressed the assembled generals, admirals, and senior officials. His words carried the weight of both experience and a clear vision for the future. The gathering was not just another meeting. It was the formal announcement of a sweeping overhaul of military culture, standards, and priorities. The assembled leaders understood that the decisions made here would shape the armed forces for years, if not decades, to come. Hegseth's speech was more than a policy update. It was a bold declaration of a new philosophy for the armed forces. He spoke passionately about restoring the military's sense of purpose, unity, and discipline, emphasizing the need to refocus on the core values that have defined American strength for generations. He stressed the importance of returning to the military's fundamental mission, being the most powerful and effective fighting force in the world. Hegseth called for renewed dedication to combat readiness, rigorous training, and the warrior ethos that has long set the U.S. military apart. In his address, Hegseth argued that the military had become distracted by social issues and bureaucratic initiatives that, in his view, diluted its fighting spirit. He called for a shift away from what he described as political distractions, urging a renewed focus on unity, merit, and mission accomplishment above all else. Standing alongside President Trump, Hegseth laid out a vision that would reverse many of the policies of previous administrations. Together, they signaled a return to traditional military values, promising to restore what they saw as the lost edge of America's armed forces. The two leaders discussed a range of changes, from stricter physical fitness requirements and grooming standards to a re-evaluation of service roles and expectations. They emphasized that every policy would be scrutinized to ensure it contributed directly to combat effectiveness and operational excellence. These announcements signaled a dramatic and immediate shift for the Pentagon. The Department of Defense would now be tasked with implementing these sweeping reforms, affecting every level of the military hierarchy and every installation across the globe. The changes would touch every aspect of military life, from recruitment and basic training to advanced operations and global power projection. New recruits would face tougher standards, while seasoned soldiers would be challenged to adapt to a renewed culture of excellence. Hegseth and Trump's ideas aim to forge a more lethal, agile, and resilient military, one capable of meeting the threats of the 21st century with unmatched strength and determination. In the chapters ahead, this essay will explore the details of this new vision, examining the motivations behind these changes and the potential impact on America's role in the world. The future of the U.S. Armed Forces is being reshaped before our eyes, with new priorities, new challenges, and a renewed sense of mission. The importance of this speech cannot be overstated. It marks the beginning of a new era, one that will define the character, strength, and purpose of the U.S. military for generations to come. To truly grasp the sweeping changes underway in the U.S. military, we must first understand the man at the center of it all. Secretary Pete Hegseth is not your typical defense secretary. His journey from the front lines to the highest office in the Pentagon has shaped his vision for the armed forces. Hegseth brings a unique blend of battlefield experience and a deep commitment to restoring what he sees as the core values of the military. As a former Army National Guard major, Hegseth served with distinction in both Iraq and Afghanistan. He witnessed firsthand the challenges and sacrifices faced by American troops in some of the world's most dangerous conflict zones. During his service, Hegseth became a vocal critic of what he described as a growing disconnect between military leadership and the realities of warfighting. He argued that bureaucracy and shifting priorities had weakened the military's fighting spirit. His appointment as Secretary of Defense was seen by many as a turning point, a clear signal that the era of compromise and complacency was over. Hegseth's arrival marked a renewed focus on discipline, readiness, and traditional military values. At Quantico, one of the nation's most storied military bases, Hegseth wasted no time in making his intentions clear. He met with Marines, listened to their concerns, and outlined his vision for a stronger, more unified force. He promised to build a military that would once again be feared by America's enemies and respected by its allies. Training would be tougher, standards higher, and the focus would return to combat readiness above all else. Hegseth sees himself as a reformer, unafraid to challenge the status quo. He is determined to see his mission through, no matter the obstacles or opposition he may face within the vast Pentagon bureaucracy. For Hegseth, this mission is deeply personal. He believes in reviving the warrior ethos, a code of honor, courage, and sacrifice that he feels has been eroded over time. He wants every soldier, sailor, airman, and marine to embrace these values. Now, as Secretary of Defense, Hegseth has the authority to turn his ideas into action. He is already pushing through new policies aimed at strengthening the military's core mission and restoring its fighting edge. In his first major speech, Hegseth laid out a bold agenda, calling for a new era of accountability and excellence. His words resonated with many in uniform, signaling the start of a demanding chapter for the U.S. military. The old ways are over, a new era has begun. The transition is not just symbolic, it's a realignment of priorities, a shift in culture, and a recommitment to the values that have defined America's armed forces for generations. With Hegseth at the helm, the military is not only looking to its storied past, but also forging a bold new future, one built on strength, innovation, and an unbreakable warrior spirit. One of the most striking moments in Hegseth's speech was his bold call to end so-called woke policies within the military. He made it clear that, in his view, the armed forces should return to their core mission and move away from what he described as divisive social agendas. Hegseth was especially critical of diversity, equity, and inclusion, often referred to as DEI initiatives. He argued that these efforts, while well-intentioned by some, have become distractions that take focus away from the military's primary purpose, defending the nation and preparing for conflict. As part of his plan, Hegseth announced the immediate closure of DEI offices and the discontinuation of Identity Month celebrations within the armed forces. He believes these programs, rather than uniting troops, have sometimes led to division and a loss of shared purpose. Instead, Hegseth wants to see soldiers evaluated solely on their individual performance, skills, and dedication, not on their group identity or background. He emphasized that merit, discipline, and readiness should be the only standards that matter. In his words, the military must break free from what he called the shackles of woke ideology. Hegseth declared that, under his vision, the armed forces would be liberated from policies that he believes undermine unity and effectiveness. He stressed that resources, time, and energy should be redirected toward rigorous training, advanced tactics, and preparing for real-world threats. According to Hegseth, this is the only way to ensure the military remains the world's most capable fighting force. This uncompromising stance is at the very heart of Hegseth's reform agenda. He believes that by refocusing on the basics, the military can restore its reputation and effectiveness. Hegseth argues that removing what he sees as unnecessary distractions will help create a stronger, more unified force, one where every member is committed to a common mission and shared values. He declared that the era of social experimentation in the military is over. From now on, the focus will be on building a force that is ready for any challenge, not on social engineering. The ultimate goal, Hegseth says, is to build a military that can dominate any battlefield, anywhere in the world, at any time. He wants the armed forces to be feared by adversaries and respected by allies. Hegseth's vision is nothing less than a complete remaking of the American military, one that is focused, disciplined, and unapologetically committed to its core mission. For Hegseth, the core mission is warfighting, without apology, without distraction, and with a renewed sense of purpose. Secretary Hegseth announced 10 directives for military leaders. These rules enforce his anti-woke, pro-warrior philosophy. The directives cover fitness, grooming, and combat job standards. A key directive: no more fat troops. Strict grooming standards require most troops to be clean-shaven. Combat roles will use male physical standards only. Few exemptions will be allowed, promoting uniformity. Special forces may keep beards due to mission needs. Hegseth is reshaping the military with immediate changes. These rules are the first steps in building a combat-focused force. The focus is shifting back to warfighting. Hegseth's directives focus on fitness and appearance. He declared zero tolerance for being overweight. Generals and admirals must pass fitness tests twice a year. Leadership starts at the top, setting an example for all. Strict grooming standards require clean-shaven male troops. Special forces may have exceptions for operational reasons. These changes are about discipline and professionalism. Hegseth believes fitness and appearance are fundamental to military discipline. High standards are strictly enforced for everyone. A new, tougher culture is being built. Hegseth's changes impact combat roles. Only male physical standards will be used for combat jobs. Diversity in combat units is not the priority. Meeting high standards is. This policy rejects previous gender equality efforts. Hegseth believes a single standard ensures force effectiveness. The change affects women's military careers. A return to traditional gender roles is part of Hegseth's vision. He aims to create a stronger fighting force. The military is being reshaped by looking to the past. President Trump supported Hegseth's vision at Quantico. He endorsed the new policies with strong words. Trump demanded loyalty and obedience from military leaders. He threatened to fire officers who resisted the new agenda. Trump suggested using troops for domestic issues. He signed an order for a quick reaction force for civil disturbances. This idea is controversial, shifting military focus. The military is being reshaped for internal and external threats. Trump's support is part of a larger plan. A new chapter for the American Armed Forces has begun. The announcements followed leadership changes in the military. Top officers were terminated, signaling a new leadership vision. Hegseth praised aggressive historical figures like General Patton. He criticized recent leaders for being too cautious. Hegseth issued an ultimatum: embrace the agenda or resign. He needs committed leaders to enforce his policies. This approach creates tension and uncertainty in the Pentagon. Many wonder who will be next to go. Loyalty to the new agenda is paramount. Hegseth's strategy relies on effective leadership. The military's future depends on committed leaders. A new, demanding environment is being created. Hegseth and Trump's speech sets a new course for the military. The 10 directives are just the beginning. More changes are planned, including overhauling the Inspector General's office. Questions remain about the impact of new policies. The changes could affect morale, recruitment, and retention. Experts are divided on the military's new direction. Some see it as a necessary refocus on warfighting. Others worry about losing progress on inclusivity. The military is entering a transformative era. Hegseth's vision is reshaping the armed forces. The future path is being redrawn now.